right, ladies and gentlemen, good Wednesday afternoon. Technically it's 12:01, so yeah, it is Wednesday afternoon. Welcome aboard to a new edition of the MEAC More with your boy Chris Stevens here on the HBCU Sports YouTube channel. Hopefully you all are doing well this week. And as you can see on my screen, I have a very special guest. I have the head football coach of the Hampton Pirates, Coach Trenton Boykin. Coach, thanks for taking the time. How you doing today?
Oh man, thanks for having me. We're just running off the field. Just got done with practice, and so I'm like, here we go. So it's been the last 4 days as we finally put the shoulder pads on with the helmet. So good
Nice.
to see a little contact.
Little pad popping out there.
Yes, sir.
Good to hear it. So last year, you were named interim head coach not too long before the season began. This year, you go into it as, having that interim tag lifted. Have your preparations changed that much coming into this year as opposed to last year?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, last year you get it, it's about May, and your team is pretty much who your team is at that point. We kind of, brought in some guys, the staff was pretty much intact at that time. So, at that point you kind of just take it and go with it. Now we were able this year to go out and recruit and bring in guys that, kind of fit what we were looking for. You bring in some new coaches, new strength conditioning coach. You take some of the game plan and what you did offensively, defensively, and special teams, and you keep some of that, but then you kind of mix in some other things with some other people brought from where they've come from. So, from that aspect, it is, but the what we say is the standard is the standard, and some of that is going to stay the same, no matter what. And so it's been a good mix of some old and some new.
Now, last year you guys finished 5-7, but 5 of those losses were by a total of 17 points. So you guys were pretty much in every game you guys played last year. Just what did you say to your guys after the season when you look back on the stats and say, wow, maybe this play here, maybe this play there? And how do you kind of get them to motivate to say, all right, let's make up those 17 points this time around?
Right, and again, some of it is the small things that you coach up. You go back and look at film, and some of it may be us understanding our personnel. Maybe not making that call on defense at that time or that call on offense at that time. Maybe it's a player who last year just didn't get a lot of reps, at that particular time. So again, you kind of look at all of it as a coaching staff. You look at it from your side of it and say, okay, there's some things that we could have called differently. There's some things that we could have put some guys in better situations. And then, from a player perspective, you tell them, hey, we talk about it's a game of inches. Did you really get locked in? Did you really pay attention to the scouting report? Were you paying attention in film? And then you go out and in the spring, you kind of go over those scenarios, at that time. Discipline, some of it is just, got to be more disciplined when it comes to certain things. And I know some people look, but sometimes you got to look back 2 or 3 plays before, and what happened. Did they score because on 3rd and 2, we got a pass interference call, and so it gave them a chance to keep the ball one more time, and then that's how they end up scoring. So, you just try to do a good job of kind of simulating some of those, but then some of it is just have to be locked in more, focus more, concentration more.
And the Coastal is a really tough league. That 2-6 record you guys had last year was kind of misleading. As I said, you guys were in a lot of your conference games. The league looks a little different this year. Of course, UD's moved up to FBS. Richmond and I believe William and Mary are in the Patriot now. So what do you make of the Coastal now that you've had a full year as the head coach? You've obviously been there since the team has been in the coach, as an assistant, but now as the head coach. What do you make of this league coming into 2025? You guys were picked 11th. Do you agree with that at all, or? is that something you're not really paying that much attention to?
I'm not paying attention to it. The people pick what they pick, and that's fine. From the outside looking in, I get it. You see some guys, that transferred out, and you see some guys that graduated, and so you can look and say, okay, the Bears cover the covered is bare, but we know what we have here. We know what we've got, that came in. So we're excited about what we have. But in this conference, one, you got to have a quarterback. In this conference, the quarterback is huge in this conference. You got to be able to play great run defense, and that's key. Our defense did a great job. You talk about where we were at in 23 defensively, where we ended up in 24 defensively. I mean, you're talking about 50, 60, 70 up compared to where we at. And so, defensively, you got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to play championship defense. You got to have a quarterback. And when I say a quarterback, a guy that can manage. He doesn't have to be a hero, but a guy that can manage the offense. And then, and to me, you still have to be able to run the football. In this conference, you got to be able to run the football. And those are the things that I've always believed in coaching anyway. Championships are won by your defense. You got to be able to have a quarterback that can manage the offense. And then you've got to be able to run the football and establish the line of scrimmage.
Speaking of the quarterback situation, you guys brought in a couple of guys, most notably Isaiah Freeman, who was a pretty good quarterback at the CIAA level for Lincoln last year. Have you had a chance to, obviously practice just started, but do you have any leads as to who your starting quarterback is going to be, or is this an ongoing competition?
It's ongoing. We have four quarterbacks here that we have. Only one that's been here. The other three are new. It was good to get them here in the summer and see them outside in the summertime doing some stuff. And now you started camp. But we have our first scrimmage this coming Saturday, and I really think at that point, you'll have a good idea kind of where everybody is sitting, and then we'll have another one on a little half scrimmage on a Wednesday, and another one, and so. But I think there's a good battle going on with those positions. They all bring a little bit something different, but I like where we're going with that group. I like what they're doing. I like what Coach Ali, our new quarterback coach, is doing. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, this Saturday, because now you really get to see them in live bullets to kind of get a feel for who, like I said, who can manage this offense.
Aside from the quarterback position, is there any position group or anybody in particular that kind of has stood out to you so far? Somebody that you kind of put your eye on and say, I can see something big from.
Our running back position offensively has always been, a key staple here. We got, two guys that are returning, and Snipes and Shep. And then we've got some young guys. We got a couple transfers in that's going to give some depth to that position. And then I would say in the secondary with Cam and Will Hicks, those two guys in the secondary. And I think our secondary, they may not have a lot of starting time, but they played a lot, those other guys. But I really do feel excited about our secondary. Our secondary is strong. We got a lot of guys that maybe not, like I said, didn't play a lot, but have playing experience. And then with Cam and Will playing in that secondary, it makes them a tough group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I am pleased to be joined by Hampton head football coach Trent Boykin here. He's just off the practice field. So if you missed the first 10 minutes, go back and check him out and then catch back up to us. So there was something that I know when we discussed CAA Media Day and where you guys and A&T were picked, and Coach Gibbs at A&T had an interesting, comment about how people are wondering if Hampton or A&T still HBCUs since they're not playing in the HBCU conference. I know you've coached all over the map. You had a great playing career at Youngstown State. You've been a head coach at Lane, and you coached at Kentucky State. So you've coached all over the map and been all over the map. Do you buy into any of that talk within our community, or is it, do you guys ever hear anything, from alumni, stakeholders or anything like that? Like, are we still in HBCU? Does that bother you at all, or have you heard anything from anybody in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, again, you've been in that environment, that realm for so long. When you really think about it, we've only been playing, in this conference for 3 years, and then in the Southern Conference. So, we're still young when you start talking about, playing out of the HBCU realm, because that's what we've been in for so long. And they're used to seeing those names on the schedule, and they're still trying to adjust to the Villanovas and the Stony Brooks and the Townsends and things like that. So yeah, you hear it at times. Why did we leave, or why don't we just stay in the MEAC and things like that? And I understand that, again, some of these people have been, I've seen Hampton in that realm, for 20, 30, 40 years, and
Yeah.
so, for them to say, I made the adjustment in 5 years, I don't expect that. But, that's the challenge that we have here. And when I say the challenge is, for us to go out here and prove that we can play in this conference. And we've shown that we're right on the cusp. And I think once we take that next step and start winning, 3 or 4 more of those, and getting ourselves in the playoff talk, they'll start understanding, like, okay, we can compete, and we do belong in this conference.
You guys do have a very heavy HBCU opener, as it were. You guys are going down to Jackson State on the 30th. Have you had a chance to sort of gaze over what that team looks like, or is that something you're just going to look at just a little, maybe a couple weeks later down the line? Because it seems like they've kind of restocked rather than rebuilt, from what they had last year. But just what are you looking forward to the most about the challenge of going down there, seeing what people consider to be the top team in HBCU football?
Great coaching staff. Um, have some great players on that team. We've, as a staff, we've kept our eye. And again, they were a team to watch last year, so it's not like this will be the first time us really paying attention. For myself, I've watched them last year, and really, even once Dion took the job, you kind of put your eyes on them to kind of see what they were doing down there. And even though that he left, they just kept rolling. And so you've always kind of been paying attention to them. Now instead of one eye, you got 2 eyes on them. So
Yeah.
but they've got a great team. We're excited about this opportunity. And again, like always, we're watching, but right now it's about us, about what we need to get done, and what we need to control. And as we start getting closer, we'll start putting more eyes on them. But they're not too far out of our mirror, that we're paying attention to the things that they're doing, and making sure that we're prepared for that contest on the 30th.
And like I said, you've coached all over the map. You've had a lot of experience, being especially being a head football coach. What do you like the most about Hampton so far? In terms of not just the job aspect of it, but the university community and everything of that nature.
Oh, I mean, the support here is unbelievable. President Williams, Dr. President Williams, is amazing. He wants to see the athletic programs have success, and so he's always around asking, how can I help the athletic program achieve what they need to achieve. A.D. Henderson, same thing. He's been great in his support, and what he can do to help move this program in the right direction. The community has been outstanding. We've made a big effort to make sure that we work together with them. Being in the community so that they come out and show their support. And then the football side of it, just where you're located. I mean, this is a hotbed of football. You don't have to go far to recruit with the DMV right here, and then you got North Carolina and South Carolina right here. For us, I know some of my friends and colleagues and peers that are out in Ohio and Michigan. They're, coach, you got to come out here recruit, and I understand. I don't have to go far, to find them right here in my backyard. So, having that ability to be here, the academic part of what Hampton is appealing to the parents. It attracts them because of the prestige that Hampton carries, in the academic world. And so, as you sit here, I mean, this is a great place to be. There's so many opportunities for young men to go to school here. The alumni base is phenomenal. We were on a coach's caravan this summer, and we were in Texas, we were in Houston, and you have alumni and boosters there. You're in Dallas, you're in LA. We were in LA. We were in North Carolina. We were up in the DC, Maryland area. So, the thing is, when you come here, there's a lot of opportunity for you, once you graduate from this place also.
And you mentioned the recruiting aspect of things. I'm sure you're quite familiar with the new head coach just a little ways down the way in Norfolk. Do you have any sort of strategy or approach when it comes to recruiting against, Mike Vick or any other coach in this area? Or is it just you do what you can to, impress upon the student athlete why your program is best for them?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I can't, what fits us, what fits him over there may be different than what we're looking for. They may say, hey, there's a certain size quarterback that they're looking for. For us, it may be something different. So we just go about our way on recruiting, our philosophy, what we're looking for, our standards, and that's it. And then, we kind of let the chips fall where they may after that. So again, we take our brand and we introduce it to the young men and their families and say, hey, this is what we have to offer. And, if it's good enough, then they'll take it.
I'll get you out of here on this note. If you had to have one word or description or summary of what it will take for Hampton football to be successful in 2025, what would it be?
That's easy. We've already talked about it. DHTT, doing hard things together.
Okay.
That's what it's going to take for us to get to that next level, that next phase that we want to go to. We got to be able to do hard things together. And if you do those things, I'm pretty sure we'll get the results that we're looking for.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined today by Hampton head football coach Trent Boykin. Coach Boykin, thanks so very much for your time. We greatly appreciate you.
Oh man, thank you for having me. Hope I can get on again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hampton Pirates will open their season Saturday, August 30th at Jackson State. Well, I don't know when the streaming information, but you'll be able to check it out. Trust me. But check out Coach Boykin and his Pirates. And Coach, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging with us as we did this interview. Coach Boykin took time out of his busy schedule. He just got off the practice field to talk with us. So I'm very interested to, see what Hampton looks like, because I didn't have a chance to, see a lot last year because I was tied up in MEAC business, but hopefully I get a little more travel time as it is to be able to, go up and down Route 13 because I'm in Delaware. So, we do a lot of, traveling. I'm traveling and, riding up and down these roads, covering these games for y'all. So, oh, by the way, before I go any further on this episode, if you'd like to donate to hbcusports.com, because we all have bills, you can go to hbcusports.com/donate. You can drop your coins there, or you can go to the Zelle app and type in donate at hbcusports.com and drop your coins there. So we can all, keep this operation going, because there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us. We have 2 married men. We have 2 single guys. I can't state to the other single guys bachelor them, but some of us like to have fun a little bit, and we need disposable income to do so. So if you guys want to donate to hbcusports.com, you guys can feel free to do it that way. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you become a level 1 or level 2 member for $4.99 a month, you can get all the HBCU sports news that's fit to print and broadcast, as we like to give it to you. And don't forget to follow us on all manners of social media. We are on the Musty app. We're on TikTok. We're on Threads. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're even on Blue Sky. I'm telling y'all, man, y'all got to get on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is the best. Like, there's no Nazis. There's no trolls, or at least you can block the trolls. So, shouts out to Lawrence Q. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, our guy, Ken Rashad, has a great book out, HBCU Sports 101, the Guide to Understanding Black College Athletics. That means you get all the HBCU sports news that's fit to print. Well, actually, I just said that part. He covers HBCU sports history in a way that the OGs will look back on with fond memories, and the newcomers to this space will get an education, because the old saying goes, you don't know where you're going till you know where you've been. And a lot of people come into this space and really don't. Some people come in earnestly and honestly with wanting to learn. Some people just come in trying to, take over stuff, like Shady McCoy or whatever. Yes, I'm still talking about that. Yes, I am. So, but Ken's book is a great guide to understanding Black college athletics, where it's been, where it is now, and how we can take it into the future. He says that he's not going to sign any more books, because I told him, man, you got to watch out for that carpal tunnel, man. You don't want to be having that. How people with carpal tunnel and bad wrists and bad knuckles have like the black straps on their hands. You don't want to have that black strap on your hand. It's not fun. I've been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. Matter of fact, this finger, if you can tell, is pretty doggone crooked because of all the typing I do. But anyway, Ken, if you pay the extra bundle, Ken will sign your book and send it to you, and it comes in a thicker material. Like it's something you sit on in your easy chair, your lazy boy. Do they even make lazy boys anymore? Either way, get one of them chairs and sit there with your pipe or your drink and just read about the history of HBCU sports. So yeah, honestly, the interview with Coach Boykin was all I had for you guys today. But if you guys have any questions, if there's anything you guys want to just talk about, discussing MEAC football, the latest and greatest news, we did talk about the HBCU for Us collaboration that was announced last week. We talked about that on the roundtable, but I can give my thoughts on it a little bit more while we're here. And I like that the NCAA for the commissioners in the CIAA, Jackie McWilliams Parker, Dr. Charles McClellan in the SWAC, Sonia Stills of the MEAC, and Anthony Holloman of the SIAC have all gotten together and said, we got to get this sugar honey iced tea under control. And I respect them for that, because everybody else is just throwing money around. And our schools, quite frankly, don't have money to throw around. They don't. It's just not something that you can throw. Throwing money at a problem never really fixes it anyway. It just doesn't. It helps, but it doesn't completely fix everything. So I like that, they're at least trying to do something. Like my esteemed colleague Jared Hoffman said last week, we need more information. Like, what does mental health mean? What does preserving the cultural and tradition mean? We need more elaboration on those topics. And hopefully we get that in the future. But I like the idea of the HBCU 4 working together. I hope they bring the HBCU AC in at some point. Because while the NAIA does not have the same problems as the NCAA, the fact remains it's still college athletics. It's really that simple. College athletics is going to be touched at every single level by the house settlement, by NIL, by the portal, by being able to pay players legally now. It all matters. So you've got to have a way to combat this or start building a war chest, as it were, to keep kids coming to your schools to play sports at your schools and be students at your schools. So I like the announcement. I think we're just waiting for more info with respect to how this is all going to work out. And I hope it works out. I do. Because we're seeing it now. I mean, the portal, like, shouts out to BJ Jones, that HBCU football. I can't remember BJ's Twitter handle. I know it's HBCU football something. But I know he said that there are still 5,000 kids in the portal as of this week. In case you ain't noticed, the season starts in about 2.5 weeks. So some of these kids ain't just going to have a place to play this year or maybe even the next, because, you know, the portal cycles out again. You know, once that thing opens back up in December, bam, whole new rash of kids are going to be hitting it. So I really hope that the HBCU for us thing works out, because we've got to find a way to preserve our schools, preserve our programs, but not, you know, just try to chase the dollar that was never meant for us in the first place. Like, we're talking billions of dollars. Like, it's easy. I mean, I'm a car guy. I love cars of all stripes. So I can say it to you like this. The Power Four, they got Range Rovers. They got Land Cruisers. They got E-Classes. They got BMWs. They got Cadillacs. Even though Cadillac has been kind of in recent years, but the name still carries. HBCU Sports, we got Toyotas. We got Hondas. We got VWs. Can't even say Kia no more, because have you seen the new Kias recently? My goodness. That Telluride is a smoker, dog. I'm telling you. If I ever make an obscene amount of money or amount of money worth decent, the sign will be that I am driving a Kia Telluride. Because Kias, man, Kia done came up. But yeah, that's the general scope of it. A lot of these Power Fours are luxury brands, and HBCUs and PWIs in the mid-major and lower are basically commuter cars. We got to find a way to keep these things gassed up. We got to keep the maintenance going. Like, you know, the Power Fours, they can just wheel it into the dealership, sit in the waiting room, thumb through Forbes magazine. Oh, let's see what the stocks are today. Oh, Tesla's down again. Oh, wow, that Musk guy. I mean, they can afford to do that. We gotta still take our stuff into the dealership, and we got to do preventive maintenance before we take it to the dealership. So we got work to do. We got a lot of work to do. Shouts out to ODB. I'll get to his question first, but this Honda Accord limited edition. Hey, but let's not sleep on Hondas though, man. Like, there are Hondas that were built in the 80s that people are still dailing today. Like, I saw a 4-door Accord sedan on Facebook Marketplace. I was so tempted to pull the trigger, but then I remembered we still working through, you know, some financial issues here at HBCU Sports. So I couldn't pull the trigger. But I'm telling you now, if I see a Project Accord from the 3rd generation, which is 86 to 89, excuse me. That's my favorite generation of Honda Accord. If you see me post one of those on social media, you'll know that I actually did it. But yeah, I mean, we got to find a way to, you know, getting back to the point. We got to find a way to keep our athletic programs, you know, solvent, competitive, but not at the risk of jeopardizing our institutions, because our first mission has always been to educate Black kids and Black kids who have been shunned by the system. Well, that's all Black kids, really. So, I mean, it's one and the same, but we can't just, you know, chase this Power Four dream when we were never meant to be Power Four players in the first place. We got to focus on us. We have to focus on us. So let me get to ODB's question. Do you think the MEAC will follow the SWAC and create their own MEAC TV app? That's a good question. Because when I talked to Dr. McClellan, I had a chance to talk to him during SWAC Media Day, and he said that this has been a process for 3 years. So if the MEAC wants to do a MEAC TV thing, they're probably going to have to hit the ground running now and hopefully have it ready for like 2028, 2029. Because even though the technology has ascended rapidly, it's still super expensive. Like a lot of people forget, when you think about streaming, you got to think about licensing. You got to think about, different ways you're going to broadcast this stuff. You need people to run your boards. I mean, the boards don't look like the boards when I was in high school, because I went to a vocational high school in Wilmington, Delaware. Shout out to Howard High School of Technology and the Wildcats. I was in a vocation called communications technology, which was basically TV and radio production. And this was in the late 90s. And we used to have these huge audio boards, like audio boards that are probably bigger than the standard variety dining room table TV today. Like you used to have to, mess with different faders and crossouts and different things of that nature, turning down the treble, turning up the bass, turning down the bass, turning up the treble. It doesn't look like that anymore because it's all on these screens now. But you still need somebody to run it, and you still need somebody experienced to run it. So the digital game, it may be streamlined, but it's still expensive. So the MEAC, if they want to follow this the SWAC with SWAC TV, they probably got to start planning for it now and hopefully have it rolled out before the end of the decade, because it's just not easy. It's not easy, being technological. I mean, we have it easy here at HBCU Sports. Everyone thinks that, all we have to do is just plug in our microphones, stream to StreamYard, connect that to YouTube and Facebook, and you guys get our handsome faces on the screen. But there are people who have a little more at stake and a lot more resources to manage. And that stuff is expensive, man. It is. So if the MEAC wants to do it, they're going to have to start planning now. Like, you got to get in the room. I think what they should probably do, this is my suggestion. Commissioner Stills, I am available for consult if you want to reach out. Watch what SWAC TV does this year. See what they offer, see the presentation, watch for any glitches, and just, take notes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with following behind somebody, just as long as you make your thing your thing. Because I had the good fortune on my music podcast this week to have Breakwater, one of the unsung funk bands of the late 70s and early 80s out of Philadelphia. And I asked the guys that were on the show, I was like, did you guys want to do what MFSB was doing? They said, hell no. We wanted to be ourselves. And I was like, okay, that makes sense to me, because they didn't sound anything like MFSB or what Philadelphia International Records was doing at the time. Breakwater is like straight funk rock with a jazz fusion sort of tilt to it. They have 2 great albums, by the way. Their self-titled one and Splashdown. I highly recommend you check those out. But yeah, if you're going to do something, if you follow behind somebody, just make it your own. Like, make it MEAC TV as MEAC TV. Don't make it as MEAC TV, copy paste SWAC TV. Like, everybody respects originality, no matter what they tell you. Everybody's like form over function. Yeah. Like, function matters, but the form matters too, because people want to see something different. People want to hear something different. People want to hear. I think that's why I always think of what Ken Rashad said, the late, great Eric Moore of Onadon used to tell him. There's a piece of the pie for everybody. That's why you'll never see us, at our wits' end about what Game Day is doing or what anybody else in the space is doing, because everybody has an audience. There's no real beef with any of us in the space. I mean, there are some people that I've said before I feel like come in and try to, be something that they're not, and that's HBCU experts. That's what bothers me. But as far as what Steve Gaither's doing over at Game Day, what the HBCU nightcap folks are doing, there's no beef there. What Dr. Cavill is doing with Inside the Sports Lab. Nope. We all on the same, we all in the same gang. Remember that song? Remember that song? We all in the same gang. We all in the same gang here. I mean, that's a West Coast one. I mean, but the East Coast version was a little bit more morbid, self-destruction. I mean, I used to sing that song a lot as a kid because it just sounded good. But as I got older, I was like, this sounds really doomsday-ish as all get out. Even though Kool Moe Dee had one of my favorite rap lines of all time. I never ran from the Ku Klux Klan and I shouldn't have to run from a black man. That's still one of my favorite lines of rap ever. And it's still, and it's relevant today. Like, we shouldn't be killing each other. We shouldn't be fighting with each other. I mean, if anything, we should be fighting against these people that are trying to take away our rights. So I get what Mo D was saying in that regard. All right. Shouts out to our guy, Jared Hoffman. The Aeneas Williams. Oh, I think that was meant for the chat. Sorry, guys. Or was it? Okay, so the Aeneas Williams award list just watched. The Aeneas Williams award watch list just dropped. I'll have to get on that in a second. Christopher Dukes. That's another good question. As a MEAC guy, I grew up, following Delaware State as a kid in the newspapers. Of course, I ended up going to Delaware State. And I went to Delaware State at an interesting time in the MEAC's history because I was a student reporter when Florida A&M left to go 1A. And that was just the weirdest timeline. It was so strange. It was crazy because, it was funny because Florida A&M left the MEAC in 2004 on the heels of one of the greatest MEAC basketball tournament performances ever. A gentleman by the name of Terrence Woods. I'll never forget this because the first ever time I felt like a grown-up sports reporter in my life was covering the MEAC tournament in Richmond, Virginia in 2004. Rest in peace to the Richmond Coliseum. I hate that they let the Richmond Coliseum just fall into a dusty, old, abandoned building because Richmond Coliseum was just a nice, quaint, architecturally unique building. I love the Richmond Coliseum. And that was the first time I felt like a grown-up sports reporter covering the MEAC in Richmond in 2004. So I went down there. I got down there ahead of time because Delaware State was in the semifinals against Coppin State at the time. But Hampton and Florida A&M were playing first. So Bruce Brown, Hampton had a dude named Bruce Brown, about 6'10", 6'11", a good 285, 290. Like if Bruce Brown walked into the doorway, the doorway would just disappear. Bruce Brown was a huge bama. And he throws down one of the most thunderous dunks I've ever seen a dude throw down in the final 10, 15 seconds. And it gives Hampton the lead. And they're against Florida A&M. FAMU, I want to say, was either the 8th seed or the 9th seed in the tournament that year. I couldn't remember. But either way, Terrence Woods says, give me the ball. He dribbles, pulls up a stride inside half court, and this thing rolls around the rim for what feels like an eternity and drops with a couple of seconds left. And Hampton was the number 1 seed, so they knocked off the number 1 seed Hampton, and we had already beaten Florida A&M in a year. So we were like, all right, all we got to do is beat Coppin State, and we go into the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, Coppin State had a dude named Jimmy Boykin, about 6'7", 6'8", really a long, lanky guy, a shooter. And we were down 15 in the second half, and we ended up tying the game at 52. And Boykin pulls up from straightaway center, and where I'm sitting at the scorer's table at the Coliseum, I just said, you know the rest. I just said, That ball hit the back of the rim and just dropped down so slow as time expired. And Coppin State won that game. And we were depressed, man. That was, even though I was a sports reporter, I was still a Del State student. And I was like, we were so close. And because I thought Coppin was going to blow out Florida A&M in that MEAC championship game. Turns out Florida A&M beats Coppin State. So that's what happens. It is what it is. But, getting back to the point, like I had a watcher says, they'll be around as long as they can keep the current members happy because I think Delaware State, I've always said that the NEC thing was just kind of like a, a hedge your bets thing. But Dr. Allen seems to be happy in the MEAC, which is fine by me because I like being in the MEAC. Patriot League for Howard or anybody else, or Howard or Norfolk State going to the Coastal. I don't think that would be a good fit, even though Hampton and A&T are already there. But and Ida Watcher brings up a good point. I hope the MEAC doesn't rush to add schools that would put the conference in a bad situation in the future. I think the MEAC should have never moved up to D1 until all the original members were ready. Yeah, I mean, there have been talks about Fayetteville State and Virginia State. Like Tiffany Dawn Sykes just recently shut that down on a game day report. She says, we're worried about winning at the Division II level. So AD Sykes said, don't count on Virginia State, which makes sense because that move up fee has gone from $1 million to $4 million. That $1 million was going to be steep for a D2 anyway. 4, forget it. So, shouts out to Alexander Wilson. Thank you for the super chat donation and your question. What are your thoughts on the ESPN streaming act just announced with the NFL, WWE, fantasy, and betting odds? How can HBCUs use this to their advantage? Well, first of all, let me tell you something right now. I ain't paying no damn $30 for ESPN. I refuse. Like the great Martin Payne said, I ain't paying the $5. I'm not. And this is coming from a dude who's watched WWE when it was WWF. Matter of fact, I can tell you the first time I watched the WWF pay-per-view. It was Royal Rumble 89. It was the infamous Axe and Smash Royal Rumble. If you're an old school WWF fan, you remember Axe and Smash from the tag team Demolition when they were the tag champions. They drew numbers 1 and 2. So they just looked at each other and started beating the crap out of each other until the next participant came down. So that was 36 years ago. And that was when my mom was paying for it. And she didn't like paying for it. But she did to keep her wrestling-loving son happy. And I thank you for that, Mom. But, I'm not paying $30 to watch WWE PLEs anymore. I'm not. I refuse. I just wanted to make that point. But as far as how can HBCUs use this to their advantage, I think that's why what Dr. McClellan is doing with the SWAC TV network is huge. Because there's going to come a point, I mean, I'm not going to speak for ESPN, but I am going to say that everybody else outside of the Power Four needs to start turning their wheels a little bit, start thinking about what they're going to do in terms of streaming and broadcasting and, and all of that, because there's going to come a point where ESPN looks at the bottom line and says, do we really need a Thursday night Coastal Athletic Association game on ESPN2? Do we really need a MEAC football game on a Friday night on ESPNU? These are some things that everybody, not just the MEAC, SWAC, CIAA, and SIAC, but the America East, the Coastal, Big South OVC, SoCon, all of these other small conferences need to start looking around and say, all right, man, they all in on this ESPN and WWE stuff. We got to start thinking about, what we gonna do from here. Okay, Ida Watcher says Fayetteville State is a North Carolina promise school. I think I'll need somebody to explain what a promise school is to me. It must be something important. So he says they're not moving up. Okay, so the MEAC can't count on Virginia State and Fayetteville State. Sounds about right. ODB says ESPN will move away from HBCUs eventually. Yeah, they'll probably move away from the smaller schools as a whole. Absolutely. Shout out to Flow Sports, man. Flow Sports still going on and popping. Maybe that'll be a new way for these other conferences to get seen. Alexander says ESPN already dropped boxing. They were paying them $90 million a year. I would never, and you know what else? I never thought I would see the day that ESPN would get rid of baseball. I never thought I'd see the day ESPN would get rid of baseball. I never. Like that literally just had my jaw on the floor. Because those of us who are old enough to remember when Sunday Night Baseball first began, those of us who are old enough to remember the original Baseball Tonight before Carl Ravitch had gray hair, when it was him, Peter Gammons, I forget who else was one of the original guys on. I think I want to say Rick Sutcliffe. I want to say Rick Sutcliffe. I'm not sure, but the early Baseball Tonight crew, those of us who remember the break-ins to the game with the organ music. Dun, 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 dun. So Jared brings up a great point as well. I need y'all to understand the HBCUs are low on the total pole for ESPN. We are not going to reap the same benefits as the NFL or WWE. Nope, we're not. We are not. We are not. We are not. So to that end, we really got to start thinking about what's next for us from a broadcasting and streaming standpoint. That's why, I get why a lot of the people are mad that there's not an exclusive deal with HBCU Go or, Urban Edge Network, which both of those do great work, by the way. Also, I want to tease this. I mean, I don't want to tease it. I don't want to give it away, but you may be hearing from somebody in the HBCU sports broadcasting realm on this channel in the near future. So stay tuned. We got stuff going, man. We keeping this channel popping. We keeping this operation moving. But yeah, I just don't see a future for our schools on ESPN. I would love to be wrong. As long as the Celebration Bowl still makes money, the MEAC and SWAC ain't going nowhere. But the CIAA and the SIAC, I would like for them to start thinking about, streaming services and all of that stuff and different things of that nature. Alexander says, I feel like the SWAC and HBCU Go, SWAC TV and HBCU Go are just limiting the scale of the audience. I disagree only because not everybody likes ESPN. Like, never forget, Robert Griffin III. Yes, that same Robert Griffin who is in a one-sided beef with a 23-year-old girl. Shouts out to the Bayou Barbie, Chi-Town Barbie, Angel Reese. Get well soon, niece. Want to see you back on the court soon. This same dude who was trying to hit a bunch of black cultural points during the Celebration Bowl, and he just looked corny as hell. Super corny. Like Rob, we owe Rob Parker an apology. You know that, don't you? We owe Rob Parker an apology. People were so mad. People were so mad that Rob Parker called that man a cornball brother. And what did RG3 turn out to be? A cornball brother. What Goody Mob say? Listen to me now, believe me later on. But yeah, ESPN, the best thing ESPN has going for it with respect to HBCUs is Tiffany Green and Jay Walker. Tiffany Green is a phenomenal play-by-play woman, and Jay Walker adds that HBCU space, mentality to it. Tiffany went to Florida A&M because of course she adds to it. But Jay was the quarterback of that lights out 93 Bison team that scored like 9 million points or whatever that year. So you have the smart, affable play-by-play lady and the OG HBCU quarterback, with the swagger. They the best team ESPN got for my money when it comes to college football. So I think that's the one thing that's kind of keeping ESPN from totally falling off is that Tiffany Green and Jay Walker are such a phenomenal combo. But HBCU Go, for crying out loud, has Charlie Neal, the GOAT, Charlie Neal. So, HBCU Go has a lot going for it as well. And I had a watcher brings up a great point. HBCU Go does not have the capacity that ESPN does. Yeah, ESPN is omniscient. ESPN is everywhere. Like HBCU Go is just starting to make footholds in HBCU spaces, and Urban Edge I think does a good job at the lower levels too. I would and I'm not one to make these suggestions lightly. Because I know how business works, but I would love for an HBCU Go Urban Edge partnership when it comes to covering college football. Like they pool their resources together and they just totally, build a foundation, cordon off the SWAC and the CIAA and the SIAC and the MEAC if they want to join in for football. I think that would be cool. Here comes A&T Roy with this Central slander. Lord have mercy. And North Carolina Central campus closing at 7 p.m. during their little homecoming week and tailgating closing at 3:30 on game day. #damn. See, I want y'all to see it. I didn't say it. I'm just reading what's on the screen. But yes. Alexander said, I read that ESPN is going back to the table with ESPN. Well, MLB is going back to the table with ESPN because they said there are not that many options out there. They're not. They're not. They can't go to NBC because NBC just took the NBA from TNT. Shouts out to David Zaslav, you bleeping moron. What a joke. How do you make millions of dollars a year as a CEO and can't even keep the best property that you have? Like the NBA on TNT was something special, bro. Something special. RG3 is a weirdo, dude. And this is my hot take. I guess this will be my off topic. If you date interracially, that's your business. I mean, for the love of God, just leave black people out of it. I mean, if you want a white wife or an Asian wife or a Latina wife, cool. Leave us out of it. We don't care. And I can tell you who really don't care. Black women. They don't give a damn who you date. They just glad you out of their face with your corny ass. Get out of here. Oh my God. RG3 is so corny. Oh my gosh. I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But yeah, where Major League Baseball goes is really going to be interesting. That was really going to be interesting. Christopher Duke says SWAC TV is going to be a game changer for SWAC. I think so too because I did matter of fact, let me put that piece in the chat for you guys. I did a quick little walkthrough about what you can expect from SWAC TV because I downloaded the app to my phone. But the beautiful news is you can download it to your smart TV, your laptop, your tablet. Like you can get like wherever you have like an operating system on a device, you can get the SWAC TV app. So if you guys click that link, you can go see where I discuss everything that's on the SWAC TV app because I downloaded it to my phone, at the behest of our senior editor, Kendrick Marshall. Kendrick was like, Chris, can you download the app and just tell people what to think? Like, yeah, sure. We're not tell y'all what to think, but tell y'all what to watch for. I mean, it's a handy dandy app. It's a handy dandy app. Like you can go watch you can go watch the SWAC basketball tournament from last year, the baseball tournament where the young man from Bethune-Cookman hit the walk-off championship home run. That should be an ESPN top play for 2025. Make no mistake about it. But yeah, I think what the MEAC is going to have to do with respect to the future is really start wondering, start reaching out to HBCU Go, Urban Edge, partner with Dr. McClellan and the SWAC to see how they came about with SWAC TV and start thinking about the future because ESPN is not going to keep around stuff that they don't think makes them enough money. That's how we lost Around the Horn. And I'm still bitter about that because Around the Horn was the smartest sports show they had. And they gave it away to let Pat McAfee drone on about, his frat bro BS and Stephen A just to pay him more to be Stephen A. And I mean, Stephen A is an HBCU guy, so I don't, I mean, I'm not gonna jump on him too hard, but as someone who had a one-on-one conversation with him 21 years ago, that's a long time ago when you think about it. I met Stephen A. Smith in person for the first time at the Unity Journalism Convention in Washington, of Hispanic journalists, Asian journalists, and it's either Native American or Indian journalists. We all have a convention every 4 years, kind of like the Olympics. And I met Stephen A. at Unity in DC in 2004. And this is when I wasn't even sure I was going to stay in college. I was 22 years old. I was frustrated. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. So I talked to Stephen A. and I was like, I'm thinking about, giving up on this thing. He stopped me right there. He said, follow your heart because anything else is just a job. And I kept that advice with me to this day. And that was Stephen A. Smith at his most humble, at his most low key, and at his most gracious. Now he just be picking beef with everybody. I mean, the man is at war with Michelle Obama for right now, for crying out loud. I mean, come on, dog. You better than this. You've been better than this. But I digress. Yeah, Sports Reporters was great too. That's how I found out about the late great Ralph Wiley. And I'm so mad that I missed the chance to talk to him that same summer because he died in 2004. My professor of journalism studies at Delaware State was a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Wickham. You guys may know him as he had a USA Today column for 35 years. And he was one of the co-founders of NABJ. And he was like, you want to get in touch with Ralph Wiley? I was like, yes, please. And I was supposed to reach out to him, but he died during the NBA finals and I never got that chance. So missed opportunity for me. But yeah, overall, the MEAC is just going to have to figure out a way to move forward, whether it's, eventually convincing teams to move up from the CIAA or the SIAC, or somehow convincing Hampton and A&T to come back home, whatever. But as far as the TV thing goes, it really depends. I mean, it's not easy, but it can be done. I think putting together a streaming service is a lot easier to deal with than expansion, to be quite honest with you, because you already know what you need to get that done. Expansion's a whole nother animal. But yes, I didn't mean to talk this long, but I knew that, as much as, I know you guys like interviews and stuff. I know you guys like conversation as well. And I just didn't want to leave you guys hanging after I had that great conversation. Oh yeah, this show started with an interview with Hampton football coach Trenton Boykin. Go back and watch it. It's a good 20 minutes. We talked about everything from, and from Hampton having 5 losses by 17 points total. Talked about the quarterback situation, the HBCU thing. There's a lot of good information in that interview. It's the first 20 minutes. I've spent the last 45 minutes just talking to y'all about everything else that's going on. But yes, that's what this show is about. And I think we'll cut it off here. I mean, we got an hour out of this. So thank you guys for helping me get through this hour, because I wasn't sure what we was going to do after Coach Boykin signed off, to be honest with you. But you guys helped me through it. I greatly appreciate y'all. So once again, thank y'all for tuning in to the MEAC and More with your boy, Chris Stevens. Greatly appreciate y'all as always. Once again, subscribe to this channel, become a level 1 or level 2 member at $4.99 a month. You get all the HBCU news that's fit to print and broadcast. Follow us on all manners of social media. We're on the Musty app, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky. Just search for HBCU Sports. If you want to donate, go to the Zelle app, type in donate at hbcusports.com, donate there. Also, you can go to the website directly, hbcusports.com/donate, and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. When you get the newsletter, you get everything we're working on. We're talking about stories on the website. We're talking about, the podcast, the YouTube channel. All that will come straight to your inbox. And the more newsletter subscribers we get, the more likely Ken Rashad is likely to give away some merch. And who don't love free merch? What Alicia Gray say from the Atlanta Dream? Who don't want no money? Who don't want no free merch? So sign up for the website. So thank you guys for tuning in. Greatly appreciate y'all as always. And until the next time we speak. Oh, before I forget, be sure to tune in tomorrow for our guy Jared Hoffman's Better Than Less Than podcast. He's going to give you all the skinny on the Division II HBCUs, the CIAA, the SIAC, and the NAIA schools, as such as the HBCUAC, Xavier, Texas College, Florida Memorial. He's got it all covered for you on the Better Than Less Than podcast with Jared Hoffman. Okay, now we're done. So until the next time we speak, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. We gone.